whatever time of day it is, wherever you are. Welcome, welcome. Please excuse my messy desk behind me, and I offer you all some coffee if you'd like to come and visit. But it's been a busy morning, and I'm sure that we're finding all kinds of things to do while we're locked up in one or two or three rooms. Here, as you can see, the view from my office. And so if you come and visit us here, well, at least we have a couple of miles of roads you can walk on while finding the joy and the pleasure of being by yourself. Anyway, this is a wonderful, really wonderful gathering, our third gathering, and Mary, welcome. I'll leave the formal introduction to others, but I'm so happy that Mary Miller is with us today, and grateful to everyone who's contributing to our work. As I've mentioned before, the Global Viewpoints Forum began in Washington years ago at the the White 19, and about 25, 30 years ago, we had a white paper on environment presented by the Japanese government and also the Canadian government in Washington, D.C. at that time. And as true to form of Legacy International, we were ahead of the curve and a little visionary. And now we are, unfortunately, seeing the consequences of people who have not paid attention to the vision of younger people. Now, I must say, 35, 40 years ago, I was a little younger. I know it's hard to believe, but I was. I was a little younger, and I was actually sort of more close to the age, not so, but close to the age of some Bernie and Teresa and others in our program. And that says to me, you see, two things. One is, it's your vision, your understanding for the future that is most important, but the call to action is obviously now. So where we were talking about things in the past and we were trying to get people interested and people weren't listening and they didn't quite understand, and what is this environment thing? You know, in I don't know what the year it was, maybe Mary might be able to tell me, or Marlene, or somebody might be able to tell me what year it was. I think it was around in 1980s. In 1980s, we were in the Mediterranean with the Mediterranean Action Plan, working on environment. That was to the extent of action that we had in those days. But now we have many institutions and many individuals who are action oriented. And isn't it ironic that here we are, and we're locked in our rooms and in our houses, and we're feeling we're empathetic and suffering sometimes firsthand the loss of loved ones or the illness of loved ones. And now we have to break out of our room, let alone our mindset, in order to act. And that's what we have to do. We have to come out of this situation, and we're never going to be, I don't say never, but we're not going to be out of it fully like many people think. It's going to take time and adjustment. And for those of us who tend to watch the news, but hopefully not too much, we understand this is going to be a slow rollout back to a new normal. And so we have to adjust to that, and it takes visionary people, but people collaborate, truly understand what collaboration means and self-sacrifice means. So we have to come out of the gate, so to speak, really running at full speed with a lot of stamina. And that's what Legacy International has always stood for. And it's based on values of compassion and love and tolerance and justice and equity and equality for everyone. And that's who we are. And that's who we are in this collective alumni and contributors to our program. And now I want to just turn it over and thank you very much for those of you who have come and been part of this. And with great plans for the future, really enthusiastic ideas for the future, which include, of course, all of you. So God bless you. I hope that, it says my internet is unstable, so I hope that I've been able to be heard today. I know that this morning we had meetings that were a little iffy, but I hope, okay, good. So God bless you. Be peaceful. Do some good breathing. Everybody take a nice deep breath. And if we have time at the end of the meeting, I'll help and to peaceful meditation, because I've only been meditating. No.
Mm. All right. You froze up a little bit there, Mr. Rash. So I think
I turn it over to Teresa.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone. I'm very excited to introduce our featured speaker, Dr. Mary Miller. This January, I actually had the opportunity to spend a couple weeks traveling with Mary in Morocco during our Outbound Professional Fellows program. And during this trip, I saw firsthand Mary's innate ability to draw people in and really create strong connections. Legacy is really lucky to call Mary a friend. She has not only hosted our Professional Fellows program at the Ramp Accelerator, but she's also hosted many fellows in her home during the homestay portion of the program. Mary is currently the director of the Regional Accelerator and Mentoring Program, or RAMP, which is located in Roanoke, Virginia, where she identifies early stage STEM companies and works closely with the founders to identify resources and connections to accelerate their growth. Prior to becoming the director at RAMP, Mary was the founder and president of Interactive Design and Development Incorporated, which is an information technology firm in Blacksburg, Virginia. And under her 29 years of leadership and guidance there, the company developed information technology solutions for Fortune 500 companies, the Defense Intelligence Agency, the Library of Congress, and the Smithsonian. So we're very lucky to have Dr. Mary Miller join us today. So without further ado, I'll let you take the screen, Mary.
Thank you, Teresa. And I'm so excited to be able to network with all of you today. Many times when we are presenting to a group of people, we're presenting things that we knew or we learned over a long period of time, and we're kind of speaking as the expert. Today, I am not speaking as the expert. I'm speaking as someone who is on this journey with all of us. And so I'm as interested in networking with people today and being connected as probably you are. As I look forward to this, and it'll come up later, this particular assignment that I agreed to do was, as I thought about it, it brought me great joy. So being connected, and we're going to talk about that today, networking. It was interesting to hear Mr. Rash talk about breathing. I was going to start, I am trying to find strategies. Those of you that have been here at my home, or we've met here in Virginia, it's an unusual situation for me because for the last 3.5 weeks, I have been home alone. My husband is away. We are trying to get him home. I think he's coming home this weekend. So not only have I been assigned to be in my home, I've done it alone, and that's been really a learning process for me. So I'm going to share with all of you a number of things that I first want to say. I believe that if you don't write it down, so I hope that all of you've got pen and paper or that you can type as we talk, because I think if we don't write things down, they just kind of wash over us. They just come and they go, and we that was a good idea. So maybe as we're talking today, you can make a few notes that might be helpful to you. The first thing I want to ask you about is kind of really, and I think you need, not right at the moment, I think you need to write down a few bullet points on how you're really doing. How are you really doing? We are so accustomed to being accomplished, in charge. People look to us for leadership. We have solutions, we have answers. And actually, it was last week when I learned that someone connected to my family had died of COVID-19. That was the little straw that got to me. And for a few days, I wasn't doing so well. But everybody expects me to do well. So Happy Mary, problem solving Mary became, I needed to be honest with people and say, I don't think I'm doing so well. So the first thing I want to, but I'm doing much better. So the first thing I want to share with you is to keep asking yourself, how are you really doing, before we worry about how we're dealing with our networking, because I think we have to talk about that. So I want to ask you to make a few notes eventually about the goals that you're using to keep yourself focused. This time will pass. It is not forever. We're going to get through it. So what are your goals? What are your goals? Personal, professional, in your network? What are you using to help yourself stay focused every day on those things that really could make a difference? And there's a lot of things that can make a difference right now. So then I want you to think about, what tools do you have? What tools are you using? I see a picture of someone I know. So
لا هي بتتكلم دلوقتي.
هي عندها كده كارير وصدفة انها لابسه.
لا مش صدفة، ما هو الليجاسي لينا يعني.
yes, I think I saw Aaliyah.
عليها انت على الهوا.
I did. Oh, now I see another one. This is part of my family, and we're going to talk about that, why it's important to be connected. Okay, so I want you to think about, what tools do you have, and what tools do you wish you had? Okay, at the moment, everybody are offering you their tools for free. Zoom is free. There's all kinds. In my phone plan has given me, I already had unlimited minutes, but if I didn't have unlimited minutes, Verizon is offering me unlimited minutes. They've just added them to my account for free. So I think you have to say, what tools do you have to be connected? What tools do you need to be connected? And let's go find those. Let's figure out what you can utilize, okay? Now, I believe, again, in writing things down. How are your networking goals today? How are you thinking about your networking goals different than you were thinking about them 2 months ago? Because you may or may not be more or less busy. And if you've got quiet time to think, it's a good time for some people to take action on something that was maybe on the back burner that they wanted to do, but they haven't done. So I want us to think about our networking goals. What are our networking goals? Then this one's a hard one for me, but I think we need to think about it. As we are separated, what is it that you're missing the most? What are you missing the most about your network? Because now we're going to try to substitute something to help us get through this. So what are we missing? I read a lot of blogs, and a number of years ago, I saw a woman speak at a conference. She was speaking about how to be a better writer. I like to write, but I'm not necessarily a great writer. I'm not a fast writer. I think too much sometimes, is what she would say. This woman, so she puts out a blog every week, and I'm happy to recommend it to anybody, on how to be a better writer. And it's a really good blog. Her blog this week kind of made me pause and stop and think, because she said, for 25 years, she has worked home alone, and yet she's finding herself coming undone and not able to work. She said, all the things I've taught you, all of the things I've written about aren't working for me. I'm not able to concentrate. So she said, I had to stop and think, what am I most missing in my network? What am I missing? And she said, I'm missing the freedom to go to the coffee shop. I'm missing having a cup of coffee and just speaking to strangers. I'm missing meeting my best friends. I'm missing going grocery shopping. I like to grocery shop. Now, those of you that know me and Mr. Jim know that I don't like to grocery shop. So I'm not missing grocery shopping because I have someone who grocery shops for me, except for the last 3 weeks, I haven't had anybody grocery shop for me. So I'm extra missing the help that I've had in my life that I don't have. But I believe if you would make a chart and write down no more than 5 things that you're missing from your network, you might be able to take what energy you currently have and apply it more effectively to those. Because we are all a bit drained at the moment, or I find myself drained. I was telling someone yesterday that I cannot not watch the news. I want to be connected to the world and the news. And yet a lot of people are saying, don't watch the news. But I cannot not do it. And yet it does drain me. So it's like, can I control myself to be the best Mary that I can be? I don't know. So let me go on with a couple of other questions. Okay, this is going to be a big question because we're going to relate to it in a minute. This is what I want you all to think about, is what are you learning? What are we learning just now? And I ask that because, and I'm going to jump a little ahead, depending on how old you are, what your circumstances are, what you've experienced in your life, we have different opportunities to learn things. I was talking to a college student yesterday at Virginia Tech. He should be graduating this spring. Graduation's been canceled. He's living in his apartment with his roommates, but they're not able to get out. And I heard him, he said this to me, I've never experienced anything like this before, and I don't know what to do next. So based on how many experiences you've had, where you are, you're going to deal with this problem perhaps a little better or perhaps a little worse, but what we can do is help each other. So those of you that may or may not know me, a long time ago, and you know I'm very active, things that are important to me is getting out, meeting people. I walk a little faster, I talk a little faster, we got to get things done. That's me. Just imagine for a moment, those of you who know me, a Mary Miller who was not able to walk for 9 months. 9 months, I was not able to take a step. I could ride in a wheelchair. I had to have my husband dress me. I slept in a hospital bed while doctors tried to repair a broken pelvic bone, a broken hip, and things that fell apart, things that didn't work. We had to redo them. So 4 surgeries and 9 months, I did not walk. That was really hard for me. But there were a lot of things that were hard for me. And so I began to write down what was hard, and then I began to write down what I was learning. And what I learned changed me forever. I knew that sooner or later, doctors would figure it out and I would heal and I would walk. I knew that. I just didn't know when. But what I uncovered was the amount of love that came my way because I'm so fiercely independent. I'm independent. I can solve a problem. I can tackle it. And all of a sudden, I couldn't do that thing. I couldn't tackle it. And so I had to accept my limitations, which were hard to do. And then I had to focus on what was I learning. And what I learned changed the way I deal with other people. And at the time where it was most prevalent was with my aging father. I assumed if someone needed something from you, they might say so. But what I uncovered about myself is things that I needed, I wouldn't ask for. I would not verbalize things I needed. How could I? People were already doing enough for me. How could I ask them to do one more thing? And so I found myself not verbalizing things that I needed or wanted. And I realized that maybe other people in a stress situation might be the same. And so as I look at 37 people on this phone call, on this connected at the moment, I will tell you this. I suspect that many of us on this call are feeling a need to network differently, more completely, maybe in a whole different way, and we're not verbalizing what our needs are. And so some of you, we're all connected. You might reach out and do something different. You might give somebody something that they weren't expecting. I'm going to share with you a little picture right here, and I want to see if you can see this. It says, it's a rock. It says, life is tough and so are you. We're not able to connect right now, but last week on a bad day, I was able to share with one of my networked friends in Blacksburg that I was having a hard time. And what I did not know until days later is that she painted me a rock. She drove an hour and 20 minutes each way to leave this rock planted out in my front porch so that I would find it one day on the way back from getting the mail out of my mailbox. This little rock, it's like it's a rock. It means so much to me in my network. And so I'm going to challenge each of us to think about what are our goals right now while we are apart. We must maintain ourselves. We must maintain our network. We may take care of our network as well as pull things in from our network. I will share with you right now that I'm all alone. I'm here. And I'm willing to connect with people who might have been afraid to connect with me because they think I'm too busy. So on Sunday of this past week, I connected with a young woman who wants to move back to our area. Her father is in our area, and he said, if you want to move back, you need to meet Mary Miller. And she said, I don't know Mary Miller. And he said, I'm going to connect you. She might be willing to talk to you. And so I spent about 2 hours on the phone with somebody I did not know. And I got online with her. We shared a lot of resources. She's already followed up on those resources that will help her come back in the area and uncover some good jobs. And so I'm willing to connect and help people who may not have reached out to me or might not have even known me. And so we have to think about what are we learning, and we need to write down a couple things that we're learning right now. What are you learning about yourselves? What are you learning about your family? What are you learning about the network of people that you work with? What are you learning about the network of people that you serve and reach out to? What are you learning? And I want you to take a few notes and focus on that. And you're welcome to share those with me because I'll tell you what I'm learning also. Okay? How can we stay connected to accomplish our goals? Once we are honest, what are our goals right now? I'm going to talk about Maslow's hierarchical theory. You know, the triangle that Maslow created at the very bottom of the triangle? It says if you don't have food, and if you don't have water, and you don't have air, you don't care what your hair looks like. You don't care what conference is coming up. You don't care about anything. That's our basic needs. And even in my country, I'm nervous and concerned about some school children that don't get their lunches at school. There are people today that are stressed over food. How are we getting them food? And anything I can do to help with that network, I want to take care of that network. Because until we can think about our basic needs, we can't think about anything else. Right above that food and water and air, if you look up Maslow's triangle, what you'll see is security. If we do not have safety and security, that consumes us. That consumes us, that we can't go into actualization. We can't focus on, is that paper going to be the best paper I could write? Or I could reach out and do better work. We can't get there. We're concerned about safety and security. I want my husband to come home from Florida, and we're strategizing how we can get him home safely. How can we get him home safely? Because I'd rather he stay in Florida and be safe than risk his unsafety as he comes home. So safety and security are there. As you think about yourself, I want you to think about your safety. Maybe in your network, you could feel better about your safety. I will share with you a real story. Yesterday, while we're all concerned about being safe, I found out that my house has been used as an illegal drop for packages ordered. That's one more thing to worry about. One more. I turned it over to the police and said, I'm not going to worry about it. You're going to have to worry about it. I don't have any bandwidth to worry about it. So our network for safety matters. The people on this call know one another. We need to ask the question, do you have the food you need? Do you have the resources you need? Because they might be available in your network. Do you feel the safety that you need? This college student was feeling very unsafe. He just was flustered. He said, I'm not ready to be an adult. Adulting is hard, and this is too sudden. I talked to him for about an hour and a half, and then I said, you can call me. Just call me. We can talk. So I know you may have people who just need to call you to talk in an honest fashion where you hold that securely. Okay. So depending on your journey, you're either more or less prepared for this. I would ask you to reach out to other people. I've never thought about this until I got old, but sometimes old people do know more than young people. I know I didn't think that when I was young. I didn't think about that, but it's possible. It's possible their life journey gave them tools and coping mechanisms that made them better. Okay.
All right.
Am I breaking up?
I think you're all right, actually. What we can do now is you can pose the questions. Thank you so much, first of all. We could hear you loud and clear. It was very informative, and thanks a lot. What you could do now is actually ask your 1 or 2 discussion questions that you want people to address in their breakout rooms, and then I'll go ahead and explain that to people, like what we're going to do in the breakout rooms and how that works.
So I've got a number of questions, but one of them I think that would be good to focus on are 2 things. Is what part of your network are you missing the most? What is it? Can you articulate what of your network are you missing the most? That's one question, because then I think we can strategize around that question. The second question that I might ask you to think about, there's actually 2, kind of like, what are you learning that will inform you to do something different when this is over? So what will you do differently when we're no longer separated? If we don't find a way to articulate that and focus on it, it's possible that will just wash over us, and we'll be so thankful this is over that we won't have realized how we've changed. So the 3 things I'm asking you to think about: what are you missing the most of your network? What are you learning right now that will inform you to be different when this is over in your networking?
Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So we'll also, okay, great. I see Mary just wrote those 2 questions in the chat. So if you need to refer to them, that's no problem. And I'm just going to open the breakout rooms, and it just goes very automatically. So it'll be like about 15 to 20 minutes of conversation. Feel free to bring up your own experience, your own, experience of your networks and your challenges and how you're overcoming them. And then the breakout rooms will also automatically close, so you don't need to do anything there. All right, let's go for it.
Great. Hi, my name is Manal. I'm from Algeria, and I'm a Tetra of 2018. And
Okay, I would like to start off by saying that, I've been retired from my full-time job after working for several years. So being disconnected from my network, I think the last 2 years has been practice for me for this time, because not being with people on a daily basis, was very hard for the first few months after my retirement. And then I was called back to work, and I worked for about 4 months. And after that, I felt good, and so since then, this quarantine is a bit different, but I think the last 2 years has given me practice to be able to adjust better at this time.
Hi there.
Thank you, Gail.
Can you hear me all? Okay, great. Hi, I'm Bernie. Thanks guys for coming. I missed the first minute or so. Are you guys just introducing yourselves? Oh, neat. Very cool. Well,
Yes.
I'll do that.
We were just making sure everybody could be heard and saying what part of the world we were from. We haven't heard from Long Ang.
Yeah, hi, my name's Lud. I'm having some technical difficulties. The webcam in my laptop actually died, so I'm trying to get a headset hooked up so at least I can talk in here. I've hosted for Legacy a couple times. I'm located in the United States in Virginia.
Welcome. Right, so who else have we not heard from yet? Feel free to just jump in, introduce yourself. Hi, Hanan. Is it Hanan?
Yes, it's Hanan.
Hanan.
Yes.
So where are you from?
I'm from Morocco.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
So beautiful place.
Yes, it is. I am supposed to be in the professional fellow program this spring.
Oh yeah. That's
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, congratulations for
Thank you so much.
on that. That's great. It's huge.
Thank you. Yes.
What areas you're like, what focus do you have? Is it like, are you working on building a business, or what's your focus?
Yes, I'm launching my social venture after this quarantine, inshallah. I'm working on a platform with artisans. So my job is basically product development, marketing, and help them with their business growth.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. Really neat. Well, welcome. And
Thank you.
yeah. Is there anyone else we haven't heard from, Shanti?
No, we've heard from everyone now.
Oh, awesome. Well, I guess we could just move into the questions then. So, given all this like COVID and everything else, what would you guys say is like the part of your network that you feel like you're missing the most?
I can address that. I actually had to go through 2 weeks of quarantine, which was, I mean, like in my bedroom only for 2 weeks. Yeah, there are a couple of things that I really miss, and they've not been able to be reclaimed yet. One is just being able to hug people. When I see someone out walking, you know, because we can still go outside and walk, and it's a good friend of mine, but I can't just give them a hug or an embrace. That is really, that's really hard. And so finding ways to express that spontaneous affection without being able to do it physically. That's one of the things that I actually miss the most. I made a discovery during that period of time. Well, I guess I'm moving on to learning. So anyway, I'll say that's one of the things I'm missing the most. I'm also missing being able to spend more time outside at different times of day and night with friends, because I love the sky, I love nature, I love gardening, I love all those activities, but not being able to do them with others. These are both very much on the personal side, but they are things I'm very aware of missing.
Anyone else, like part of your network that like you feel you're missing the most? Or maybe we can even just jump into, if you want to speak more to the second question, like what are some things you're learning from this whole experience that's going on right now? Feel free to comment on either one of those.
I want to comment on the first question. What I'm missing the most. I never thought I would say this, but I really miss my teachers. It's really like I thought, and I used not like hate my teachers, but you know, going to class and teachers and grades and exams. But like when I'm studying from home, I discovered how hard it is to study on my own and how effort they were giving us to actually deliver all the material and for us to understand. So I really miss that. And I really, really miss going out because whenever I'm pressured and I'm working hard and then I get tired, I just go out for a walk. And now I'm not able to do this. And I really miss that.
Oh man. Is your country, I missed where you said you're from, I'm sorry.
I'm Algerian.
Oh, Algerian.
But I study in Lebanon, so it's
Oh, okay. So things are pretty much shut down there too right now.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Oh man. Hopefully it will be lifted and pretty soon. Anyone else? Like what things are you having a similar experience or is it something different? Are you missing like other people that you thought you never might or
Like Manel, I'm realizing how much I miss my teachers as well. And I'm also realizing I guess, how incredible the public school system is. A lot of the times it's so easy to look down upon the public system, and I think there are definitely things that could be improved on. But just thinking about the logistical feat it is, and then how so many students rely on the public system to provide consistent food security and just a reliable space to learn that's productive. And a lot of students I know are now having to work for their parents, or they don't have a reliable network. And it's difficult to know that there can't be much done to help them in those situations, just given the circumstances now. And I also thought that it was really interesting that Ms. Shanti and a couple of my other friends have commented on how much they miss like, physical affection and being able to openly express themselves through that. And I find that really fascinating because from my culture and a lot of Asian cultures, physical affection is not as big, and so we're more like reserved and appreciate space. So I haven't had as much of an issue with that, but I do definitely miss the comfort of my friends and being able to have them in the presence, even though we might not be as like openly affectionate. Although I definitely hug my friends a ton, but I've just been used to showing my affection through other ways, whether it's just talking with my mom or helping her cook or just doing other things. But I think it's definitely interesting to see how just, I guess, our everyday tendencies are playing out to how the quarantine is affecting us.
Definitely. I feel like a lot of people, I mean, I know I have a similar sort of thought process where it's like you have a lot of virtual connections, or I have a lot of virtual connections, but the in-person ones are also very much missed. Yeah.
Yes.
Anyone else, feel free to jump in about your own experience. I see you there, Hanan. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's my fourth week of quarantine. Yeah, and before I was in having my first month in a new job. So it was very exciting and meeting new friends and all. It was a work that I really enjoyed doing beside my building my other business beside. So I miss. I'm questioning myself now. Am I missing my team? Because I really do. Because the activity is down and we will not be able to work together yet. It's a very uncertain time.
Mm-hmm.
So we are keeping in touch via WhatsApp and other tools to check on each other and discuss how the company can be back later after all this is done. Second thing I miss is connecting with my friends face to face, deep conversations, and the ability to show affection, like Mrs. Shanti said, and hug them and cry if we have to. Sometimes our vibes are very low in those times, and taking the phone and call sometimes doesn't seem something we can do. So it's also hard to reach out when your vibes are very low. Like Mrs. Mary said, you have to take care of how of how you feel before you reach out to your network. So basically, every day I take two of my friends to check on them and have a long call and talk about every part of life and what we are learning now.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds like that you're sort of adopting some new practices. I mean, maybe they're not so new to you, but for me, I know that it's like reaching out more often to people, sort of checking in on people, using more social media, kind of WhatsApp, Zoom stuff. And I'm curious too, like others, what are some things that you're doing differently, or that you think you might do differently when this whole thing blows over? Like, yeah, what are some thoughts you have about that? Like how you might change your own behavior?
I think that it's related to the second question, because during this time, I have learned how to separate my real life from my social media. I have been able to stop using Instagram for a week now, and I have never felt better. And I would say that, and I'm focusing more on myself and homework out, learning new things online and by myself, self-reflection, and what I should improve on myself and how I do my work, replace my bad habits with good ones. And I would definitely say that after this quarantine is over, I would keep on doing the same thing, self-reflecting, changing the habits, observing what am I doing wrong, what is serving me good, what is serving me bad. And I would keep the same mentality. I mean, I don't know, but I like this quarantine. Well, not really liked it, but I guess I benefited more from myself than I used to think. I think that being present online and stuff, but so being with myself really helped me to improve myself.
I see some head nodding. I don't want to mess up your name. Xuan. How do you say that?
It's pronounced sun, like the sun in the sky.
Oh, sun. Okay, cool. Yeah, I saw you nodding there. So you kind of
Yeah,
like...
I was just agreeing with Manel because I set up an organization myself, and so there are times when I was doing like school and organization and just trying to work on both. And then during the quarantine, when I didn't have any school, I kind of like was finally able to self-reflect and realize that maybe my work habits, I was overworking myself, even though like I never minded overworking myself on like my passions, but just recognizing that like given the opportunity, how am I feeling, and just like feeling relieved and like having the opportunity to like develop my organization has been really refreshing. And then also just like seeing where, I don't know, just not having school has been a huge thing. And like Manel was saying, I really actually am enjoying, and I think it's really unique for just American culture as well, because I have read a couple articles saying that like hobbies don't exist anymore, only like side hustles. So I think it's really interesting to see how people are finally almost like devolving and becoming reinvested in hobbies. And so I've been picking up painting, and then also just being able to spend more time with my family. And as a senior, I'll be going to college next year. So I was also like, during school, I was like, I need to spend more time with my family before I leave. But it was so difficult to like try and find that time. But now it's almost like we're given this wonderful opportunity to spend so much time together. So I've been trying to like have more conversations with them, play board games and things like that.
Great. Thank you so much. Well, cool. I guess we're gonna actually close the breakout rooms now, so we can all return back to the main menu, and that way we can kind of share with the group, you know, what are some of the thoughts we had. Yeah. All right. See you guys there. Oh, wait, let's see. All breakout rooms will close in 55 seconds. We still have 55 seconds. Yay. So if anyone has any burning...
Maybe it would be great if, Lut, you had anything to say before we leave the breakout room. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I'm not sure that 30 seconds is useful. contribution. So I'll just catch you guys back in the main room.
Yeah, no problem. Feel free to share there too.
Okay.
Definitely. Cool.
All right. Oh no, just as the three things that Mary was going to say. Mary, you're going to have to tell us that in a larger session. Mary.
I guess we're all back together.
Yes.
I hope everybody, do people share now, or I can share the three things I was going to share in my group?
We can do that first, but yeah, we have a chance for the breakout rooms to share some of their thoughts with everybody.
Well, I was just going to end with, in my breakout group, I'm doing a lot of reading right now because I believe that there are people who are smarter than I am, who can get my head straight on what's important right now. And one of the things we were talking about, what we're learning, is that self-care matters, that we have to take care of ourselves right now or everything else falls apart. And I read an article about self-care, a really good article, and it said there's really three things that nurture us. And I think this audience would agree. We have to find a way to unplug. We just can't keep going forward in your job. I've got some people I'm working with in my job who they don't think anything's ever happened in the world, and I'm being assigned as much work or more work than I've ever been assigned. They just think it's just keep on going. And so we have to find a way to unplug. So I've started grabbing some time during the day that I've said, no, that's my time. So we have to unplug. We have to find a way to eat healthy and sleep enough. I am guilty right now. I've broken my sleep patterns. I'm not getting 8 hours of sleep. I find it difficult at night to settle down and go to sleep. And yet I'm getting up in the morning. I know that's not really good. So I'm focusing on some strategies to help me have a routine so I can get enough sleep, just that alone. And the third thing that they shared was that we have to find a way to be of service to others. So we have to take care of ourselves, we have to unplug, but when we can find a way to be of service to others, it actually renews us a great deal. And we all, in my group, there were some people who mentioned different ideas of how we can help each other and help one another. So that was what I was gonna end with.
Nice. I'll go ahead and report from our group. I had Ira Kaufman, Angel, and Mohammed from Egypt, and a couple of other people whose names I'm blanking on at the moment. But we did a lot of talking about that right now. Many of us were using the digital networks well prior to this, but that it's also causing us to use all of our networks in a more meaningful way. That we've all found that it's important. Mohammed from Egypt was saying that this time has been really important because it's caused everybody to sort of pause and really think about priorities and really think about what makes a meaningful connection. We had people that were in the process of building a community of networks so that they could promote their business or promote their thinking, and that this has given them a chance to kind of do that. But we all were missing, the day-to-day human interactions in our offices and at our universities and things like that. But in general, the pause has been a great time to reflect and understand how much we need to take care of each other and how much that's been more of an emphasis on community. But we also talked about how we're learning and listening to the different leaders that we find in our localities that are talking about public health and just either the incredible collaboration that they're showing and the different ways that they present information or the lack of collaboration. I really liked one thing that was said about you have different tones in the conversation right now. There's information, there's urgency, but there's also compassion
being expressed, and that's kind of caused everybody to also reflect on how they communicate, but being more prepared in the future, doing more planning. That a lot of what's going on right now is a result of just people not being proactive enough. So those are some of the things we talked about. There was a lot more. We went deep fast. So anybody else want to share out from your group?
There were a number of other groups, so maybe we can.
Hi, I can share our group. This is Joanna. I'm so sorry I don't remember some of your names in our group, but it was a great discussion, and it was fascinating because we all have very different sort of works and walks of life and experiences, but we had very common experiences of just missing our natural work environment, whether that's an office space or just interacting with our communities or workplaces, even just public spaces that we normally wouldn't even think twice about, like going to a shop like was talked about before, or just talking with a stranger. And then with that, there's also sort of the flip side of really enjoying having the time that we have to just contemplate sort of how do we do things differently, and enjoying time just with family. One of the members talked about unplugging for about 2 weeks just to really spend time with his kids, really embracing the idea of solitude and trying to reconsider how we make meaningful connections, especially digitally at this time. And also finally, just reorganizing not just our physical space, which many of us are taking advantage of that, but also just how we navigate our thought process during this, and taking time to be thoughtful about how we're, practicing self-care, but also, thinking up new ideas that we've been putting on the back burner, or projects that we've been wanting to pursue and just haven't done for whatever excuse we've come up with. So it was a great discussion and lots of different input.
Thank you so much. All right, so that was the second breakout room, and I'd love to hear from some of the others as well, just kind of going down the list here. We heard from Mary's, that was room 1. Room 2 was where Joanna was. Room 3 was where Mr. Rash was, Ilona, Marlene. So if there's anything that breakout room 3 wants to add, feel free to jump in and tell us. Or anyone from breakout room 3.
I was in breakout room 3, and I think there was some really good concepts there. I would be happy if someone else wanted to share from 3. Mike?
Sure. So we talked, as Mary shared, we talked about self-care, and we talked about caring for others, of how to bring that into your day-to-day, how to take the urgency that supporting and caring for others we feel for that right now, and bringing that into the time when this passes. And also there were some recognition of changes of priorities that people are feeling, that the connection to family that they're experiencing now, and the connection and the time for reflection that they're experiencing, and the ways in which that will help them to reorder their priorities.
Thank you. And
I have like
yeah,
4
please go ahead.
that attended online, and like in group. So
I think, Bernie, it's a muting situation there.
So now we can move on to breakout room 4. That was my group. So we had Hanan and Lud and Manel, Shanti, and Sun. So feel free, anybody, to jump in, things that you sort of thought about during that and what you heard, to kind of give others here a sense of what we discussed.
I want to add a remark from Manal. She talked about how she misses the school and the teachers and the efforts that they were putting into their work. So that gives me an idea to never take anything for granted. I used to never take anything for granted. I appreciate all the times, all the people that I meet. So after all this is over, I think we will appreciate everything in our lives, and we will have always this flashback to this moment when we didn't have access to something. And as we have access to it after the quarantine, we will not be the same people anymore, I think. So that was a good reflection.
Thank you. All right, and then we have breakout room 5. That was with Aliyah, Demokos, Fatima, Haley, Layla, and Nora. So if any one of you wants to jump in and kind of give us a summary or things you thought of, or yeah.
Thanks, Bernie. This is Haley. I can speak for our group. We also had some similar thoughts where we also had a teacher who is Fatima, who was missing her interactions and direct contact with her students. We had Aliyah, who had a really positive take and how she described her ability to now have me time for the first time in a long time as a program developer and really be able to flesh out some projects. We heard from Nora, who had to return to Morocco after being abroad in a different country, but how she's learning how to practice gratitude. We heard from Demokos, who also had similar thoughts in terms of just the day-to-day kind of communication and just the mobility and the flexibility to just be able to interact with people, missing that aspect. Layla had some really great thoughts about how really this situation is exposing where we are inflexible and really stretching our flexibility muscles, if you will, to learn how to really adapt to our current situation. And I would say in general, we all kind of shared about the ability to practice gratitude, where it is important to pick up the phone and call someone or have a Zoom call, or to really be able to connect with the people that we are social distancing with. So that was something that was meaningful for all of us.
Thank you so much. Well, that was all of our breakout rooms. So we can, if you want to sort of wrap it up, we can go back to Mary Miller if she has any sort of final comments she wants to add, or call to action or anything like that. We'd love to hear it.
Well, I would just say this. We need to be intentional and purposeful, and I think we're trying very hard to do that. If we're looking to expand our network or utilize our network, I was suggesting a little exercise where you literally draw concentric circles on a piece of paper that says you have got to be in the middle. You are the center of your network. What are you doing for yourself? And you just draw a line out to the side and say, what are you doing for self-care? And then the circle around that would be your family. And it's kind of like...
Yeah.
So just please mute yourself if you are not speaking.
So the circle around that would be your family, and what do you need to do for your family? What are you doing for your family? And set a goal for what will you do today or what will you do this week so that things don't wash over us. This is a moving situation, and some days seem more glim than others. So you all have some, my state is not yet experienced the worst of it. We're being told to prepare for May the 20th. May the 20th is a long way away for me to think that the worst situation I'm about to encounter is not until May 20th. So what am I doing for my family? Beyond that, those that we share a mission with at work, those that our work may help, our students or someone else, and then people that we like to listen to. What are we doing to build our network? Because everybody is trying to help all of us right now. So there are people doing podcasts, and there are people doing into their home to share ideas. And it may be that it's very uplifting to learn something new from somebody outside our network who we would like to be networked with. And it could be a great time to ask someone like me to introduce you to someone. Like Aliyah just said, she's getting time to work, to focus. So maybe somebody can enable something. So I drew this crazy little chart to give you an idea. I didn't put it on my Blackboard because I'm not good on Blackboard. But here's a little chart that you can see that it just It just make your circles as big or small as you want them, and then assign yourself or think through, what are you doing to engage with that network, unless that network is not important to you right now, and just set it aside. But we have these circles of connectivity, and some of them are more important than others. So I would challenge you, my question back for you is, try to take a little assignment and get purposeful. I'm very big on writing it down, hold ourselves accountable, and just take one step at a time. And we will get through this, and we will be different. And but what I do know also is that we'll be there for each other. And that's really all I have to share.
Thank you so much. That's great. Mary, did you want to jump in with anything?
I just want to thank you, Mary, for being who you are and for being so hospitable when people were visiting you in the Roanoke-Blacksburg area, and today from a distance. And thanks to everybody who participated today. Next week's topic is going to be more on how do you measure and evaluate your social impact. So many of you are involved with businesses or involved with community organizations. So that will be a little bit more of a learning some of the techniques that make it really valuable for you to look at your theory of intervention and how that is. I want to share, let Mr. Rash sort of close us out for today. And thanks again for participating. Go ahead, Mr. Rash.
Thank you very much. A lot has been accomplished. It was very practical and personal, and kind of a session that is very, I hope, typical of what Legacy tries to do, is to talk from the heart and to speak about personal relationships and personal experiences. Thank you, Mary, very much for bringing your knowledge, your expertise, and your personal story to the group today. And we're very grateful to have you as a friend and as a colleague in the work that we're doing. And I hope that in the future we have the opportunity to spend more time together personally, in person, sharing some coffee and some lunch, so we don't have to feel that separation. Thank everybody for coming. Take care of yourselves. Breathe. Let's start. We started with a breath. Let's take a breath, a deep breath, and put all the light you can into that breath. And every muscle in your body, just try to relax and be as transparent as you can. Let's take a breath and hold that breath for 5 seconds.
Oh my God!
And then leave it off. Thank you. And let's at the next breath, let's stay with each other. Mary, are we leaving it open for discussion or anything today?
Yeah, so if for anybody who would like to just stay and chat in this room with each other, you are welcome to stay. For those of you who need to run on to dinner or putting the kids to bed or lunch or whatever it is, feel free to go. It was really great to see everybody.
We'd
So
also
this
like
is
to
just
take a quick group picture.
Oh
before
yeah,
everyone.
Teresa, right. So if you want to, she always takes a group picture and puts it up on our Facebook page. So if you want to let your face out or close your face, it's up to you. But
And
we'll
also-
give us a countdown.
Also, please don't forget the survey that's going to go out. We need your survey.
Please. Okay, so I'm going to take 2 group pictures. I'll give you a countdown for both. Go ahead and give us a thumbs up or whatever fun face you want to make. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay, now we're going to take one more. Ready? 3, 2, 1. All right, got him. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, I just wanted to share one thing real quick with everybody. I was just on a conference call in England, and they put out a call to the population in England for volunteers, and they were looking for maybe 30,000 volunteers to help with the coronavirus, help people who were shut in and one thing and another. And lo and behold, they got something like 600,000 people volunteered to do this. Then they put it on an app so that you can see whatever volunteer